What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Golden Dice Podcast. We've got one of our last probably spoiler reviews, unless we break the last one in two parts, but who knows what cards we're getting for that. So we got 3 leaders for you. It's been a hectic time for all of us with our PQ and having a showdown on Sunday. And so I'm going to be riding this solo again. And I'll try to breeze through these as fast as I can, and obviously giving more depth to where there needs to be, because there's certainly some in-depth cards. So first up, we have one of our new leaders, Asajj Ventress. Cunning, villainy, unparalleled adversary. Action, exhaust, attack with a unit. If you played an event this phase, it gets +1/+0 for this attack. She deploys at 4 resources. She comes out as a 3/4 with Force, Separatist, Sith, and has on attack. If you play an event this phase, this unit gets +1 attack for this attack and deals combat damage before the defender. And she is a rare. So essentially, shoot first on a stick on her unit side. Obviously, a great ability. Her leader side does work with Surprise Strike. I mean, if you wanted to shoot double up on shoot first. But her leader side does not. Yeah, I mean, she's coming. I mean, 3/4 at 4. Squishy, right? I mean, I do hate that it opens it up to open fire. I know Sabine's like 1 more point of health, but like that is just one less card that Sabine has to worry about getting eaten alive by. You know, they can also just get ECL'd by a numerous amount of 4 drops, 4 LOM exists, things like that. So the 4 health is definitely a worry. I know it's a meme, like dies removal must be terrible. I don't think she's quite that case. I do think she's pretty good, and it's actually interesting that she can like cleanly answer, you know, some leaders if you're able to play like some smaller units, take some other actions, and then like they deploy Boba, use Asajj to answer, and then I mean they could swing in obviously, but basically what I'm trying to say is that she can one-shot Boba with Surprise Strike, which is very funny to me, and then live because she takes no damage back. So that's kind of like, I'm curious to see where those lines go, and just her ability to like potentially trade leaders and stay on the board, which could create her getting a lot more value than some other leaders potentially. Obviously, she's still an aggro, so she's probably going to come out at 4. She's going to try to deal as much damage to the base as she can. And I'm trying to think what some other like yellow events are good, but like honestly, even just playing stuff like No Good to Me Dead, or like, you know, yellow is like a Waylay or McClunky or things like that. Obviously, you need another unit to take advantage to attack with, but I mean, to me, Asajj seems like she'll settle pretty good, and it seems less of a meme to compare her to Boba. All right, you're in yellow, villain, always, why not Boba? Well, this unit, this leader is definitely cheaper, right? You know, the comparisons like Thrawn and Jango and Cad Bane, it's like hard because Boba comes out earlier than all of them. Whereas Asajj has a unique part of coming out at 4, right? Yes, Boba maybe does, but he also has to ramp to do that, whereas Asajj doesn't need to. And it's actually interesting that you could play her with green at 3 resources, ramp. If you could attack with your 2-drop for an extra damage, that's great. And then deploy her, and then, you know, essentially have a 4/4 that shoots first on that turn. So interesting to go green. But again, if you're going into green and ramping, then maybe you do start to ask the question of like, is Boba just better for that? But I do like her a lot. I think there's some good plays that you can go on it, and it makes you want to look at those 0-cost events that aren't particularly good, but could be good with Asajj to make sure that trigger gets off. So, I mean, she's someone that I would be looking at going into set 3 of her ability for that, even if it's just like trying to see how fast we can go. But yeah, I like her. Love Asajj in the game. Fantastic art. This showcase is probably going to be insane too. So, and then on to the next one. We have a upgrade, 1 cost, Roger, Vigilance. When defeated, attach this upgrade to a friendly battle droid token. It is learned. It's a +1/+1, and it's a rare. I don't know. Like, I see cases where this could be interesting. This is great in a Fin deck, right? You keep bouncing around between your Battle Droid tokens that you're somehow getting in Hero. I mean, Rare probably keeps it from being too busted, like within draft or something. And also, it's like a fun card to try to like build a deck around and constantly have that bounce around. So now your Battle Droids are always going to consistently be like a +1/+1, and then obviously you can get like 2 or 3 of these out and just consistently like bounce 2 to 1, and now all of a sudden there's 3 3s and stuff. So you can definitely get a lot of value out of it. But like, I'm not super excited for this card or think it'll be like crazy relevant. Because they could also just sequence it potentially in a way that if this is really good and they really do want to get rid of it, they kill your other Battle Droids first and then kill the one with this on it. So, yeah. Now we have an event. This is a legendary 3-cost Etheric Assault Disaster double command. For this phase, when each friendly unit gains when defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. I don't know, man. Double green, I feel like just can't get anything going. This is not one that I'm like super excited to play. I can see its cases where it'll be good, but you need a board state where you can take advantage of this, and then you also want it to where you're like trading up. If this could go to face, if this could go right to the base, obviously this would be amazing. But that's not the case. Yeah, sure, if you have a few Battle Droids out, now all of a sudden they can deal 3 damage back to enemies and stuff like that, or you could like exploit 3 and then deal 6 to something. I see the lines of that, but it's also costing 3 to do that. You need to be able to take advantage of it, things like that. I struggle to see this being like crazy good, but I'm sure there's going to be some decks out there, especially at like a weekly or showdown level, where they're really trying to take advantage of something like this. And with exploit, like, this does seem pretty good. Seems like it would be a better villain card for that reason as compared to Heroism, who wants coordinate and wants to stay out. But it could help them trade and keep more units on the board and stuff like that. So, yeah. Now we have an 8-cost event, Guerrilla Insurgency, just aggression. It's a tactic. Each player defeats a resource they control and discards 2 cards from their hand. Deal 4 damage to each ground unit. It's a rare. It just feels like really expensive, and it should, because this is like not a negative play experience card. It's like, I don't think it's super impressive, but I don't think anybody will enjoy getting hit by this. You got to defeat a resource, you got to discard 2 cards, and deal 4 damage. It's like the most interesting way to do this is if like you ramp and then stop somebody else from like deploying their leader when you did get to, or something along those lines. Or if you're just making clean trades and you're dumping their hand. Like, obviously the start's going to line where this feels powerful, but I'm not like super sold on this being like a crazy card, because 8 is like a lot too. You want a lot of payoff, but there could be situations where you don't have the board for this to work, and you have cards in your hand that you want. You know what I mean? Like, you have to discard 2 yourself, right? It's each player. So you and your opponent are both doing these things. So yeah, art looks fantastic. I do love that. Now we have a 2-cost space unit, Padawan Starfighter, just vigilance, 1 attack, 3 health, Jedi Republic vehicle fighter. While you control a force unit or a force upgrade, interesting, this unit gets +1/+1. As far as I'm aware, in my quick research, there are no force upgrades, so we will see what that means in the future. But as for now, it is just force units as far as I'm aware. And I mean, like, even if you have a force unit out and like a 2/4 in space isn't anything to go crazy about, it is interesting that it can like trade twice into some things. You could kill 2 lurking ties. You could kill, like Kylo's tie and then a mercenary gunship, or something along those lines. But 2/3s also already pretty much do that. I mean, I guess not Kylo's and mercenary, but I could play my Restored Arc or my Inferno 4, depending on what side I am, and just take an even trade and not have to worry about having a force unit on the board, something like that. So, little too niche. I think it'll be easier to pull off than the Follower of the Way card that we got from set 2. That didn't see much play. And I mean, I guess it depends on the deck. Like Ray is always turning that on, but also if that just dies and you never, it gets traded out way too easy, and they don't have to invest anything to trade it out because it's so under curve on stats. It just doesn't seem worth it. Maybe fine, you know, in draft and sealed when you just need some type of space threatening it all, and you have a force leader, and you're just going to be able to turn this on pretty easy. But outside of that, not sure. Now we have 4 cost, Daughter of Dathomir. It's a ground unit, just vigilance, 3 attack, 5 health, force, night tags. I believe this is the second night, with Asajj being the other one. While this unit is undamaged, it gains restore 2. Common. Force tag is nice. I do love to see that, but 3/5 is a little rough. Maybe Hero could want to play it, but I don't even think they care too much about it. Hero obviously has Kanan at the same slot, who's probably just better. But I mean, I guess Villain even has Morgan Elsbeth, who is a 3/6 and has restore 1. So I think this is just fighting in spots where it's not going to be great, and it's going to be very easy for this to get damaged, especially if they just chuck like a 1 battle droid into it or ping it with any type of different abilities to take the restore off. And if there's no restore on this, you paid 4 for the 3/5, which feels pretty rough. So I think there's just a lot better cards to play, just even without the restore, playing like I said, Kanan, playing Lompike, playing Morgan Elsbeth, things like that. So now we have 2 cost event, Grievous Reassembly. It's a supply, and it's just vigilance. Heal 3 from a unit, create a battle droid token. It's a common. Nobody plays, what is it, Repair. That is the 1 cost event from set 1. Heal 3 damage from a unit or base. So I don't think this will see play really either. I just don't think it does enough. You do add 1 cost compared to Repair, but it has to be from a unit, can't be from a base, and you now get a battle droid as well. Yeah, I don't know. Even these decks that want to create battle droid tokens probably have cards that do things just a lot better than something like this. Man, I feel like we haven't had too many exciting cards so far. There are some coming up, but I feel like for now we're getting a little bit more tame ones than the last video, which was some of my favorites. Reprocess. This is 3 cost command villainy event. Choose up to 4 units in your discard pile, put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order, and create that many battle droid tokens. This is an uncommon. I actually do really like this one. I think this will be suspiciously harder to get off than you think, but certainly, resource, turns 5, 6, 7, 8. You'll be starting to turn those out, especially like I've been playing a lot of like Kira lately. And it's like after you play Vader and you get like him out and him and whoever he pulls out, they'll both eventually die. And so it's like at that point, there's very likely 4 with Vader, what he pulled, and then probably like a 4-Lom, and then probably your turn 1 play, or they're not 4-Lom, Lompike, something like those. And just being able to put these back in, and then also create battle droid tokens to now be able to use those exploit cards that you have in your deck, especially in Green Villainy. I'm a fan of that. It obviously should note that tokens won't work for this, but certainly things like Battle Droid Escort or whatever it might be, they're on the bottom of your deck, so you're not going to see them too crazily soon. But you do get Battle Droid tokens out of that to help exploit and do some other things. So I mean, paying 3 to potentially get 4 Battle Droid tokens is pretty good because the baseline curve is 2 for 2. So I could see this definitely seeing play, but not in every matchup and certainly not in every deck. Now we have Huyang. Huang. 3 cost ground unit. Command. Enduring Instructor. 2 attack, 4 health, Jedi droid. When played, choose another friendly unit. While this unit is in play, the chosen unit gets +2/+2. He's a rare. I think he's great. I really like him. He's kind of like a wing leader with a better body. With the 4 health mattering, he's not going to get traded out easily by these turn 1 plays. And he can give +2/+2 to anything, so there's no requirement for a Rebel synergy like Wing Leader. And it's interesting too, because if you like put him on your big threats, it's now like, do you deal with the big threat or you take him out to get that +2/+2 away? Or it could create some interesting tension points, especially if you're able to get this down. on your leader. And it is interesting that he also has a Jedi tag as well, so he could put like General's Blade on him and start swinging away and playing things for two less. And we like to see 4 health there. I mean, he's given out 2/2 stats. He has 2/4, so you're getting 4/6 stats for 3 on the board. So I like him. I think he'll see play. 3 ofs, I'm not sure, but I feel like he'll definitely be floating around the 60 at least. Strategic Acumen. 1 cost, command, upgrade. Attach unit gains action, exhaust, play unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. +0, +2. It is learned. It's a common. It's like the Alliance Dispatcher from set 1. That didn't see a lot of play. The issue being probably that it just would die. Like playing that on turn 1, it had 2 health, so it just died to literally everything with 2 health, and it traded with literally nothing back because I mean, maybe Greedo, right? Those 3 ones it traded back with. I mean, there's some interesting ones in that we'll see like Nala Se coming up. We'll see New Gunray, who are both blue villain, but just like unimpactful bodies. I don't know if Newt's on attack though, so he might actually not want this. But maybe someone like Nala Se, who we'll see in a minute, who doesn't really do anything. Her whole ability is just being like on the board for those things. So I don't know how much you care to attack. I think Nala Se is like a 1 or 2 attack. So it's like more valuable to give her 2 health to stay out there longer and exhaust her to play things that are going to be more relevant than doing the 1 chip damage with your leader that you really only care about, you know, having her ability to give clones the heal too when they're defeated. So yeah, not exciting card, but maybe it could be use case, corner case scenario where this is relevant. Defensive Camino, 4 cost, command, event, Republic tag. For this phase, each friendly Republic unit gains Restore 2, and when defeated, create a Clone Trooper token. It's a rare. Love the artwork, obviously. And, yeah. If it rules the same way as Rallying Cry, the units have to be in play when this is played for them to get it. So you can't like play this, then deploy your leader, and your leader gets it as well. But, I mean, this is certainly interesting. I mean, this can definitely be one of those cards where you could potentially, if you have 3 Republic units out there, you play this, you get potentially Restore 6, more likely 4, unless they can deal with 2 of them. And then you're just getting bodies left behind as well to help keep Coordinate on. So, you know, if you have a wide board and you're needing Coordinate, this makes it so everything that dies keeps it. It keeps it online. So, not truly a fan of it, like, being amazing, but I do see the cases where, this could be a potential, like, blowout play of restoring, like, 8 to 10 and creating Clone Trooper tokens for anything that is left behind. So, yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I'm just being, like, overly negative with these batch, but nothing really has me, like, too excited. And, Resolute, like, I really want this to be good, but it's a 10-cost space unit, Aggression Heroism, under Anakin's command, 8 attack, 8 health, Republic vehicle, capital ship. This unit costs 1 less to play for every 5 damage on your base. And when played and on attack, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit and each other enemy unit with the same name as that unit. It's legendary. Art looks fantastic. I just love these capital ships as I continue. But, I mean, obviously, if this comes out, at 7? You're at 15 damage. If it comes out at 6, you're at 20. But, if it's coming out at 6 that early and you already have 20 on your base, is an 8/8 in space going to be the thing that swings that? Not totally sure about that. Unless you do have, like, total control of the board because, like, you're using Anakin's ability and, like, you ping that extra damage to get up there and then drop the Resolute. Like, there's certainly interesting lines for that. And then, obviously, if you're able to kill, like, a few tokens, you're going to be happy with that. But, obviously, at 10, this is not worth playing. And even if you get down to 8, it still feels a little rough. Like, I think you're going to want to at least drop this down to 7. But if it comes out at 8, I don't think it's, like, terrible. But 7 feels like kind of the sweet spot. And 6, you're probably sweating bullets of what's going on, especially if you're on a 25 HP base. But I don't know. I'm still hoping for more out of, like, the capital ships on the hero side. You just look at, like, Devastator, Relentless, Avenger are all just fantastic. And Hero, I mean, Redemption and Home One are good. I just wish there was, like, one capital ship they had that there was, like, when this comes down, it could potentially lock down the game, like a Devastator, like Relentless, like Avenger. All three of them can drop and just win the game if your opponent can't deal with it. Whereas this, they certainly could, because it could have a when played that does nothing, right? Devastator comes down, it probably blows up something. Avenger comes down to defeat something. Relentless, they probably had to burn a card to then open up their ability to actually defeat it as well. So this doesn't quite have that. If tokens are huge, this value goes up, right? If it absolutely is true that almost at all times your opponent has 4 or so battle droids and 2 or so clone troopers out, and like you can play this and snipe 2 for 7 costs, like that's definitely going to feel great. So set 2 meta, don't love this. Set 3 meta, I think it has obviously a potential to open up and help counter some of those swarm decks. But yeah, if you're at 20 health, you play an 8/8 in space. Like, what does that do if you don't have control of the board? Yeah, like I said, if you have Anakin and you're dealing damage yourself and you're controlling the board a little bit more because you're making like trade-ups more efficiently and things like that, I could see having 20 damage on your base and playing that for 6 being okay, but maybe run blue so you can restore a little bit, not totally die. Next we have the heavy Persuader tank. 7 cost, ground unit, aggression, 6 attack, 5 health, separatist, droid, vehicle, tank, exploit 2. When played, you may deal 2 damage to a ground unit. It's a common. I mean, it's not terrible. Like, if you exploit 2, 3 for 6/5, that when played deals 2 to something, you could ping off shields, you could kill a token. 3/2s, we're seeing a little bit more hype around them going into the current set. Obviously, like Sabine, Battlefield Marine, things like that are still the top of the line of these drops, and it also is limited to ground units. So you can't hit like A-wings or whatever you might want to hit in space. But I mean, I think that's still fine. It's got even if you exploit 1 for a 6/5, you can deal 2 to something, and it does trade back into those 6/6 like we've talked about with Anakin, with Poe, and things like that within this set at that same price point. But obviously you need to exploit to do that. Dooku could add a 3rd one to it, and he could exploit, make this cost 1. So it's certainly interesting lines for that. Don't hate it. I think it'll be really good in draft, but Premier, I could just see this getting bumped out because there's better, more efficient things. But I don't think this is like totally a bad card. Next up, we have a 2-cost Cunning, Heroism, Event, Clear the Field, Tactic. Choose a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less. Return it and each enemy non-leader unit with the same name as it to their owner's hand. This is an uncommon. This is a great card. This is going to be huge in the set. I think it's something that is needed, and I know it might feel like, oh, they introduced tokens, and here's the silver bullet. It actually does give you a reason to go hero, which a lot of times we don't have anymore, and at least consistently, and yellow hero too, outside of like Han. So I like seeing this. I don't think this will totally be like tokens are dead on arrival because of Clear the Field, but this is certainly good to have in the game, because then if tokens and coordinate and exploit became like way too good, you need some type of an answer for it, and having something like this I think is healthy for the game. So yeah, you'll see this played. This is a great card. No notes. It is interesting too that if you start to see more units that are 3 or less have a unit that is more than that, you could potentially bounce your own to return that as well. So like if you play the 2-cost Sabine unit and they have the 4-cost Sabine unit, I think she's 4, you could bounce your own Sabine to return their Sabine unit, the new Sabine unit that's coming out in this one. So there's some interesting lines there of that. I don't think that'll be super common, but maybe when we're at 4, 5, 6 sets, that could be a little bit more common. But right now, I don't think that'll be. I think this will just be really good into tokens. Next, we have the Patrolling AAT, and it's a ground unit, 5 cost, Villainy, 4 attack, 5 health, Separatist, Vehicle, Tank, Sentinel, common. Fine draft card, fine sealed card, but also like this actually does interest me in Dooku, and I'm sure there's probably better plays for it. But if you open up with the create 2 battle droid tokens, and then next turn you give this Separatist exploit, it has Separatist tag, so you can give it exploit 1, so you can play this for 3, and now all of a sudden you have a 4/5 Sentinel turn 2 on your side, and you still have one clone, one droid on your side that you can exploit next turn for something else as well. I'm a fan of that. That seems like a pretty strong line to have. It's gonna, and it's 4/5. So if you play that on turn 2, it's gonna eat 2 things most definitely. So, but I could see there just maybe potentially being some better lines. But I do like that a lot. Here we have our second of 3 leaders that we'll talk about this video. Nalase, Vigilance, Villainy. Ignore the aspect penalty on clone units you play. Kaminoan, Epic Action. She comes out at 4. She's a 1/7. Still ignores aspect penalty on clone units. And each friendly clone unit gains, when defeated, heal 2 damage from your base. Yeah, I mean, obviously the comparison is to Hera. She's a lot better than Hera, just simply by nature that there's probably 4 times as many clone cards as compared to Spectre cards. Quick search on SWODB for clone, and there's 28 different cards that have that trait, but that does include leaders, which I think we only have 2 leaders. So, oh, and it's got the token here as well. So we'll say 25 cards actually have clone, and then you can obviously subtract like the ones that are neutral, like Cody, some of the Coruscant Guard, the 5 of Fur. So it's really giving you obviously just access to the hero ones. Now the interesting ones, obviously everybody's mind goes right to running Nalase with ECL, and now all of a sudden you have Wrecker ECL. In a villain deck, you have Tech in a blue villain deck as well, which could be very interesting. So it's like, even if you don't go the Wrecker route, I mean, I think even just adding Tech into these villain decks, which some of them are already doing, especially like the ones that know they want to go longer, like a Bosk blue deck, things like that. Now the issue is that compared to Bosk, compared to like a Vader blue, she does not have a body that does anything. She certainly doesn't need to deploy at 4 either. She's definitely somebody where it's like, oh, you finally have several clones on your side, 2-3 clones, and it probably is a turn where they're going to get traded out. You could deploy her, and now you could potentially heal anywhere from 4 to 6. Maybe even more if she sticks around longer from that. She's not somebody where I feel the need to deploy at 4 resources. You certainly could if you just want to get like a large health body out there and you have clones that you know are going to die, and it'd be nice to already start healing. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I don't think she'll be as good as I know a lot of people are excited for her now, because the possibilities of adding all these hero clones, like just again, the sound of adding Tech to blue villain, the green-blue villain having access to ECL Wrecker is certainly interesting, but it's like outside of that, like, is this Omega's time to shine, or is it still just a 2/2 body? Even though there's a search, not going to be enough, which I kind of like feel that way. But both Echoes could be interesting as well. The Republic Tactical Officer could be interesting if you can get enough Republic into the deck, but I also feel like you're just going to want to run like the really good green villain cards as well in Overwhelming Barrage, Super Laser Tech, and then like at the 7 cost, it's like, all right, well maybe Vader doesn't come in because you do have some lower cost hero things, but you're still going to want Mauls, and then even like I mean, it's hard not to go and be like Avenger, Devastator, Relentless because of the color pairing. And now this deck certainly could be built as more of a mid-range to where you're trying to end with like the Wrecker ECL plays. But my mind, blue-green villain, like you're still going to want some of those bigger things, so you're probably not going to have too many clones within your deck. So, yeah, we'll just have to see like where she ends up. Having a body that's not relevant for your leader is something that does matter, and I feel like we learned that with Jabba. I do think she has more impactful just because she can give all those when defeateds out, but you need people on the board, which is something Jabba needed as well for that to matter. Now, granted, she can come out and then you can play things and still get that benefit, whereas Jabba didn't. But I don't know. She seems like kind of middle of the pack for me, but is it exciting idea to deck build? I didn't really go anywhere just yet. I added Tech and Wrecker and ECL, and I'll see where I go from there. Next out, we have Shattered Intentions, 3-cost upgrade, Cunning. Attach unit gains. This unit can't be captured, defeated, or returned to its owner units by enemy card abilities. +0/+0. It's a rare. So you can still die to Open Fire, Overwhelming Barrage, Akbar, things that deal damage. You just can't be defeated by takedowns or Rival's Fall or things like that. Just vigilance, things like that. So I don't know how good this will be. I mean, 3 is a lot for something like that. You don't get any stats out of it, so you'll want to put it on a unit that is already having like a good body on it. So I mean, later games like this could be pretty nasty. Like some of these like blue yellow villain decks that drop an Avenger and they're scared because it's like this weird. If I drop an Avenger and they drop an Avenger, I'm the one that loses because my Avenger dies. But it's like if you get an Avenger and still have initiative go in the next round, like you drop this and it's like they almost can't like play an Avenger. Like it's going to be hard for them to actually get some abilities to get up to 8. I think it's an 8/8, right? So they need to deal 8 damage from something. I mean, they could open fire it twice, or try to figure some type of line out, or confiscate or Fang Fighters are still around. But those lines are interesting, but I don't know overall that something like this will be able to make it. And obviously, you could play this with Chert, which would be really funny. But I don't know what blue yellow hero quite looks like. I'll need to reassess as we go into set 3. Artwork is fantastic, though. I absolutely love that. Next, we have Finn. 3 cost, vigilance, ground unit, on the run. Angry Arthur stance for the artwork. 3 attack, 4 health, fringe trooper. When this unit completes an attack, choose a unique unit for this phase. If damage would be dealt to that unit, prevent 1 of that damage. He's a rare. He looks somehow worse than his leader. I don't know. 3/4 double vigilance. He has to complete the attack. Like, there's just a lot of narrow lines for him. I wish it was an on attack, but it's not. And he's a 3/4 for 3. Those statistically haven't really panned out. Fighters for Freedom are like the exception, but that's because they can give you some reach in a deck that is aggro. So yeah, I just think Finn's going to be looking on in from the sidelines. Oh, I went the wrong way. That's embarrassing. Next we have the Zillow Beast. 9 cost, ground unit, just vigilance, awoken from the depths. 10 attack, 10 health, creature. When played, give each enemy ground unit -5, -0 for this phase. When the regroup phase starts, heal 5 damage from this unit. And it's rare. It's like interesting. It's not like a crazy impactful when played. You need a board probably to take advantage of that. Right? If you give something -5, if they have Vader out, boom, all of a sudden Vader does nothing, so your units can ram into Vader and kill him without taking any damage back to your units. But I mean, it's a decent payoff in these mono blue decks, which hero at least. They don't really, they have Lukes and Redemptions. Having like another huge body like this could be something that they're interested in because they're going late game generally anyways with all that healing, all that stalling that they can do, all the Sentinels they have. And Zillow Beast might be just a decent option for the hero ones. The villains still have like, some bigger stuff in there anyways, but I mean, we just like to see big stats. I think Zillow Beast might be okay. I don't think it's like shattering into the meta, taking it over. But it certainly could be interesting to force your opponent to put 2 cards into it, because if they don't take care of it, it's just going to constantly heal. They're not going to really be able to have a way to like whittle it down. It is kind of funny if you drop Zillow Beast and then put like Protector on it in a double blue deck, and now you have an 11/11 Sentinel that heals 5 if they don't deal with it. That's kind of funny. Yes, I know Fellow Dragon exists, Power of the Dark Side, Waylay, all those things. So I'm not saying it's an insane combo, but certainly one to look at. And I think some decks can take advantage of a 9 cost 10/10. Then we have 5 cost Event Vigilance, Death by Droids. It's a tactic. Defeat a unit that costs 3 or less. Create 2 battle droid tokens. That other blue villain card from set 2 starter, I can't think of the name of it right now. Calculated Lethality, that cost 4, and that was defeat a non-linear unit that cost 3 or less, and then give one of your units experience token for each upgrade they had. Even that felt too slow, and that was 4. So now we're talking, this is 5. 2 battle droid tokens is great. It adds up. Defeating a 3 cost for 3, and then creating 2 Battle Droid tokens. But I don't think I think this will be way too slow. By the time you can play this on their early plays, you have already taken what at the 3 resource 4, and then unless you open with this, you would have taken 9 damage from that one unit that you're finally now defeating. So for me, this ain't it. Now we have 1 cost upgrade, Vigilance, Foresight. Attached unit gains when the regroup phase starts before drawing cards. Name a card, then look at the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, you may reveal it and draw it. +0, +2, learned. It's rare. Thrawn has finally gotten his support after all this time. Now, clearly, Yoda support obviously would be great. But I mean, yeah, I mean, Thrawn blue decks, if you're cutting Vigilance and you're trying to like stall the game out and win with Thrawn, I mean, this goes in that works with him. That's fine. Yoda is obviously a great spot for it too. I mean, I think this could be something that's worth playing. I mean, just simply 1 +2 defense with the ability to give you more cards into your hand. Seems pretty good. So you can do Yoda's ability. You could still swap out cards for your hand that you know you need right now. And then at the end, use Foresight and draw the card that you put back on top. And now you get to keep everything. So I like it. The artwork's pretty cool too. I'm a fan of that. I mean, I don't think this will be like an insane thing, like a 3 of necessarily. But I mean, if you're playing Yoda, there's no reason to not start out playing Foresight in your deck to see if it works. And if you're Thrawn, obviously the same as well. Now we have a new ground unit. 2 cost, Aggression, Heroism, Jyn Erso, Stardust. 3 attack, 2 health, Rebel. While an enemy unit has been defeated this phase, this unit gets +1, +0, and gains Saboteur. It's a rare. I mean, as we've seen, 2 health on a turn 1 play can be a little bit of a liability, simply because of how easy it is to trade into in some of those other decks that like to go late game and have bad early units, like Blue-Green Villain. You know, this lets your their Pike Sentinels trade into this, whereas they don't with Sabine and don't with Battlefield Marine and stuff like that. But, you know, there was use to the Mandalorian that we got, the 3/2 on attack defeat, an upgrade that costs, you know, 2 or less. She wasn't terrible, Ketsu, but she just died to everything, and she didn't have the Rebel synergy. So even if they had the initiative, they wouldn't be able to Wing Leader or Fleet Lieutenant or anything like that, where Jyn Erso does have that. And I mean, if they're still in the park where they just want a 3 attack unit to start the game out, I mean, Jyn's might not be bad, still has the synergy, still could work, and then also has the potential in the future, especially on like flip turns where you can guarantee, you know, your leader to defeat something, or you play her and you know next turn you're going to ECL Wrecker or Poe or even K2 to kill something, and now she hits for 4. Like, this is definitely pretty good value. So I think she's got a case to be there, but I could see the downsides to her already. Next up, we have a 3 cost Cunning ground unit, Sly Moore, Secretive Advisor, 3 attack, 3 health, Republic Official. When played, take control. Hope that got fixed. Control of an enemy token unit and ready it. At the start of the regroup phase, that token unit's owner takes control of it, rare. So obviously, if you're doing this, you need to like exploit it or jam it into something very quickly. But Sly Moore doesn't seem really all that good. I mean, yeah, I mean, you if you could play this, take something, exploit it, you now, you know, got 5 resources worth of stuff that turn. But a 3/3/3 is not very good, and is getting consistently passed by it. You know, Bodhi gets played because he can rip cards at hand, which feels better than what Sly Moore is doing. So, yeah. And then our last, like, non-leader card, we still have a leader after this. 1 cost event, Cunning, Unmasking the Conspiracy. It's a gambit. Discard a card from your hand. If you do, look at an opponent's hand and discard a card from it. Rare. I mean, this obviously could be interesting later in the games. I don't know, just like thinking sometimes playing, you draw resupply, you draw one of your early drops that you know you're not going to play anymore, and you can play this and discard it and take out their big thing. You know, take out their Luke or Vader or Maul or Revenger or Overwhelming Barrage, things like that. But I don't like super duper love it. But obviously, you paying 1 to discard your worst card to take their best card is something that could be pretty good. Even seeing cards like Bazine being able to take whatever card you want, even though they draw and there's a chance they get something. Seeing that effect being very powerful. Now, she has the advantage of being able to play it from the row for 4, whereas this has to be in hand, right? If this could be played from the row, this would be insane. If this had Smuggle. But this is one that feels like it's worth looking at as well. Just being able to choose when you do this because, hey, this turn, if they have this, I lose. Well, here you go. You can play this, discard a card, and discard something from them. So, yeah. Last up, we have Chancellor Palpatine. He is a cunning heroism leader playing both sides. He's a Republic official. And you start him on his heroism leader side. And then he has an action, Exhaust. If a friendly heroism unit was defeated this phase, draw a card, heal 2 damage from your base, then flip this leader. Then he flips, and he is now cunning villainy. And now he's Darth Sidious, and he also has a tag playing, or title playing both sides. And he has an action, Exhaust. If you played a villainy card this phase, create a clone trooper token, deal 2 damage to each enemy base, then flip this leader. And he's rare. Very obviously because of that. I mean, there's just a lot to decompress, a lot to talk about Palpatine. How good he'll be. The biggest question for me, we'll start out up front with that, is just there's no body. And that was something I brought up with like Nalase coming out as like a 1/7, just not having an impact on the board. The advantage here is that you could consistently heal, deal, and spawn a clone trooper token. So even though you're not going to get like a 4/6 body or whatever, you have the ability to potentially spawn several 2/2s, which could add up to more stats over time. But it's like hard to think about some of the best leaders currently. Sabine's a 2/5 in aggro that can really push your game plan. Kira's a flip that can help clear the board, help you take control, help you set up a really nice overwhelming barrage. Then even late game, there's set 1 Palpatine, who steals a unit and is now 4/10 on the board that synergizes with Royal Guard, synergizes with just Force Traits and things like that. So, obviously they're like the 3 best leaders in each of their archetypes. And obviously Boba Fett, like standing, getting 3 extra resources his deploy turn. All those things are super powerful and help those decks work. Palpatine not having that just makes me a little bit concerned about his ability to be viable. But like I said, that maybe all that healing, all that damage, and spawning several clone trooper tokens could be good. And this is even before you get into the spot that you could just have a brick hand. You could have flipped him to one side, and now you only have the other cards in your deck, right? You're definitely going to need to try to figure out the balance of heroism and villainy, and then how many just neutral cards within the deck that you have. So I will be playing with him. He seems like he'll be a blast to at least try, and it actually makes me very excited for the legendary of him, the double cunning one, because the tokens that he makes will be able to come in ready. And he's also creating tokens himself on that one as well. So, I mean, to me, I'm like trying to think of each color, like, all right, what are the finishers in villain and heroism for yellow? Fett's Fire Spray doesn't really help you here. I mean, you could just play as a 5/6, but you also could just play Xanadu's Blood and like Han Solo on the ground and both Falcons. You could get the 4-Lam and Zuckuss combo out as well. But then it's like you go to green, it's like, okay, you could get whatever ramp you want. You could get Spark of Hope. You could get, yeah, I mean, you have Resupply. And you could get Sublaser Tech. And then, you could bring Overwhelming Barrage. And then you could bring some of the best capital ships from both sides of Home 1, Devastator, Relentless. Now, right, that's still going to be a little tricky, Home 1 especially, because you still need heroism in there. But to me, it's like I'm trying to think, like, what 2 sides of each would you want? You also get Mauls in that situation. Blue, I'm trying to think, like, you get Avengers and you get Luke's. And then red, you get, you get Poe and Wrecker, and you get, the new Dooku. New Dooku seems very interesting as well, Trying to still, I was trying to name like new cards, but still trying to process all the ones that have come out. So, I mean, this is a big brain thing. This is one that's like going to be hard for me to give like a super reaction to it. I am cautiously optimistic at his ability to be relevant again because there's just no body of that. So like I, place him maybe upper B, like maybe being a little generous, maybe being a little hopeful of that. But he's definitely gonna be one where you're gonna need to build a deck, probably lose like 50 times before you even start to figure out like, all right, I should be doing this. I should be taking these steps. I should take these play lines. I should flip here. I shouldn't flip here. And then also then figure out what the 50, 60 cards in your deck are going to look like and what balance they need. So that's kind of my take on Palp. Very excited for him. We got all our leaders. Palp was the last one they saved, the most interesting, the most complex for last. And this is like only the first cycle of cards in the game, right? Sets 1 through 3 were kind of like designed together, planned together. And this is what they finish with. So I'm very excited to see what 4, 5, 6, and beyond all look like for the leaders that we'll be getting in the future. So have all the leaders. We still have a bunch of cards coming within the next week or so. I know like CC's got some of the press kits, and those will be coming out, and all the unspoiled cards. There's still a good amount left in the set. I believe we're still like 60 short. We have 190 of 257. So yeah, that was close. They should be coming out this week, but we'll do another recap trying to cover them all. Probably have to break down to 2 because 60 cards in one video is a lot. And yeah, appreciate y'all tuning in, and catch you next time.